evening, everybody, and welcome to the party. You may notice that there is a slight change in the program tonight. Do not try to adjust the dial. I am Don Jago. I will be your Galaxy Master. That was last night. I will be your Game Master for the evening. Running a Westmarches style game here with a bunch of characters that were haphazardly thrown together in because that's just how we roll on this group. So I'm going to let everyone give a brief introduction to their character after a brief word from our sponsors. We have many here to the party. It's a huge thanks to Tabletop Loot, our amazing dice sponsor, providers of fine dice for all of your gaming needs. So head on over to tabletoploot.com. Use the code WTTPDICE to get 15% off of your next purchase. Now, Maddie and his amazing merch shop are the sole provider of Welcome to the Party merchandise. So head on over to sonerdwear.com. Use the code WELCOME at checkout to get 10% off of your next purchase. So Nerdwear, it's what the nerds wear. Now, Welcome to the Party is now proudly sponsored by Roll20, the virtual tabletop that runs straight out of your web browser. Everything you need to play with your friends is ready at the click of a mouse, from click to roll character sheets to built-in video and voice chat. You can even upload your own maps and tokens. Get all of that and more with a free basic account on roll20.net. Sign up now, roll20.net/start/WTTP. Finally, Welcome to the Party is proudly supported by Devin Rue, who has provided huge support to the community ever since we've launched. For some of the best cartographical content on the web, go ahead and check out rueinc.com. Now, our Patreon not only goes to support the channel, it goes to support the amazing people who support it. Your generosity allows us to continue working on our mission to platform amazing LGBTQ plus and BIMPOC players and creators. So check us out now on patreon.com/welcomepartyrpg. And as always, come and join us in our amazing Discord, where you can chat with myself, all of my players, and plenty of other wonderful people who would love to play some games with you. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and introduce our team. I will go ahead and say, let's start with Wojciech.
Hello everyone, I am Wojciech, the Beasthide Paladin, Oath of the People.
Both of the people. Okay, let's go ahead and introduce Aditi.
Hi, my name is Leona, and I am playing Aditi Thakur, our princess ranger. What am I? Tiefling ranger.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're great. And next is Carl Dandleton.
Yes, hello. I am Carl Dandleton. I am an Arab Cochrane, and I am a war wizard.
Elvaris.
Hello, I am Velfaris. I am a Protector Asimar Celestial Warlock.
And last but certainly not least is Yetta.
Hi! I am playing Yi the Grounder. She is a dwarven hill dwarf ranger. Ta-da.
And with our group introduced, today we are going to be playing a Westmarches style game, which in this case takes place in the Eastmarch. The Eastmarch is a far-off overseas territory of a burgeoning republic where a single major city sits within a frontier colony. The center of this is the city of Melopolis, which is home to the Voyagers Guild. The Voyagers Guild is essentially a group of explorers, mercenaries, adventurers, problem solvers, troubleshooters, whatever it is that you want to call them, people that are paid to go out and deal with any problems that people find within this wild land. It's a very, very small colony that is built over the top of what used to be an ancient Fey kingdom. So people constantly explore the area for ruins, treasure, for archaeology purposes, for religious and historical purposes, for many, many things. Our group finds themselves starting within the capital of Melopolis. Melopolis is a coastal city where many, many travelers come in and begin their life here in the Eastmarch from the far-off Republic. All of you would be based within the Voyagers Guild within the city, which in and of itself is basically just like a giant guild house / tavern slash office space and bunks. Most of you sleep and live here as well. With that said, what are all of you doing as the camera pans over the group with inside your guild headquarters as you wait in between current contracts?
So you would find Volchek working at the forge, creating tools and armor and implements for like the farmers and the craftspeople.
Kara would be in his study, studying, reading many books, as many as possible.
I think Aditi would be busy training her pet panther, Bailu. I think that's where she would be spending the most time, is either like outdoors or if there's like a training grounds kind of space, and she'd be training and practicing shooting with him.
Well, Varus would be spending his time in quiet contemplation, away from everyone.
And Yida is probably like in the forest, not too far off from Aditi actually. Like she's training her panther, like Yida's just pulling a Merida and is just like shooting off into targets and just practicing with her bow because she's an archer. So
And as all of you are practicing or sitting in contemplation or whatever it is that you occupy your time doing,
Yeah, I can barely hear you.
you can barely hear me.
Yeah.
Here we
Yeah.
let's see here. Is that any better?
Mm-mm.
No. Cool. Awesome. Great.
Zoom or your computer may not be using the headset mic. It sounds like it's trying to use your PC mic.
It might be.
Yeah, because if you're talking straight into it like that, nah, it's not picking up your headphones.
Nope, definitely not.
Great. Wonderful. Of course, it was working just fine last night. Give me one moment here.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if I can fix this. And it doesn't seem to be working, does it?
Sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. Do you want to do a quick break and fix this?
That may be necessary unless,
Whoops.
let's see. No, it's registering it on my end, but for whatever reason, it's not showing up.
Hmm.
Cool. Great. Wonderful. Love it. It's fantastic. It's my favorite thing in the entire world.
Give me 1 second here. There's always going to be some kind of thing going on.
Every single time.
Give me a second, and I will take us to...
We'll be right back.
All right,
I
we
think.
will be right back. Okay, we're back.
Hello, everybody. For the most
Oh,
part,
done.
fixed. Are we
I
live?
think we're good. Yeah, I think we're.
You think we're good?
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
live.
Okay, hello, everybody. We seem to have gotten our technical difficulties sorted out. There was quite a bit of them, apparently, but we're good now. Everyone can hear me. Everyone can hear my wonderful, beautiful players. And so we are going to continue with our journey into the Eastmarch, where our players are members of the Voyagers Guild and are currently in their chapter house. When all of you are able to overhear from the main tavern area, essentially, of the chapter house, an argument spilling out between what looks to be the leader of your chapter, a tabaxi known as a Naratos, and what looks to be a small congregation of both lizard folk, humans, dwarves, elves, basically just a couple of different peoples that are common within this area. There's quite a bit of shouting, and a couple of you catch small snippets of basically like it's all their fault. If only they hadn't provoked them. It doesn't seem like it's going to be end peacefully unless someone steps in.
Go for it.
I will walk in and loudly close a book. So it claps closed. Excuse me, all the racket is making it quite intolerable. How am I supposed to proceed with my studies with all of the arguing and shouting going on?
One of the lizard folk wheels on you and then points back towards Anaratos, your chapter master, and says, "Is this what passes for members of the Voyagers Guild at this point? Brushing off our problems just so they can bury their nose in parchment?"
Yes.
At that, voice tech will come walking around the corner, covered in sweat, shirtless, with a large hammer over their shoulder. What is the problem?
Anaratos turns to you and inclines their head slightly before pointing towards the small group that appears to have taken over the main tavern. These fine folks apparently are from a nearby settlement, one outside of the Republic's zone of control called Hild's Rest. They are asking for us to look into a disturbance that they're saying one of their community groups managed to bring up. However, as it's outside of our normal jurisdiction, it's not exactly something that I can authorize.
Fair jurisdiction. Volchek will just look them over. You look like stout folk. What do you do?
And you get a smattering of answers as all of them try to basically shout over each other, until eventually it is a tiefling that steps forward and kind of ushers them all into calm. She bows and says, "Kind sir, my name is Fadra. We are perhaps not exactly a common community out here. While some of us are indeed settlers from the Republic, we are farmers and weavers. We tend to flax fields out farther north, out of Milopolis. Some of our kind, though, have recently left our settlement instead. They have she thinks and Wotiek can tell that she's trying to think of how to diplomatically put this before deciding on. They have decided to follow the older ways of this land and have therefore left our community to join others like them. Now, both of our communities appear to be under some sort of strange magics or curse. It's quite hard to say. We are in the middle of summer here in Milopolis, but our farms freeze from winter snow.
Oh, that is most peculiar.
We thought so as well. Hence why we find ourselves here. We didn't know where else to turn. And now your chapter master says that because we settled outside of a protected region, apparently we cannot get help. I thought this is what this guild was for.
Aditi will step in at that point and say, "Well, I don't know about the rest of them, but I will help."
Well, you certainly come to the right place. One of the things that I do best.
And
Magically.
Yita's not far behind, and she's like, "Have you checked your cows?"
They all kind of look around and like shrug as and go, there are no cows.
Well, that's his first problem.
Well, I too would like to help.
winters. Strange winters, old gods. Sounds fun. One moment, I will be back. And goes back to the forge.
Okay. Velfaris, as this is going on, what are you up to?
Trying very hard to concentrate and failing. And so I'm going to go see what all the fuss is about.
Okay. As you enter, you see that despite Fadra trying her best to maintain some semblance of peace between the two different communities, they very clearly do not like each other. One group is indeed dressed within more Republican style clothing, where the people from across the sea that founded this city, while others appear to be dressed in more of a fey manner. They tend to use more natural materials, more natural coloring. But they appear to be mixed from there's no like one species that stands out. There are lizard folk dressed within very resplendent republican tunics, and there are humans and dwarves that appear to be dressed within more fey style manners. um, but it's very clear they do not get along, and it's very clear as Vilfaris walks in that they are very intent on blaming the others for why this has happened, saying that they're the reason it still snows. They're the reason that some horrible curse has happened.
Trying to get my character sheet to load, and it's freaking me out. So you came here for help, and we are not giving it.
Again, your chapter master Narutos, who is a leopard tabaxi, kind of shrugs helplessly and says, "As part of the charter that we agreed to when we set up this guild house here, we are not technically allowed to interfere in the affairs of what is naturally occurring within the Eastmarch. The Republics doesn't have a presence out there, and these settlers settled illegally."
I would like to pull up subsection 76A. You just mentioned that it was a natural occurrence. I can tell you that winter snows occurring during summer is an unnatural occurrence. Therefore, we have jurisdiction.
Be that as it may, it still doesn't change the fact that it's outside of our territory. I cannot authorize anyone interfering in any other part of the Eastmarch.
If we do not ask your permission and just do it,
Would that be okay?
is that okay?
Though first, why don't you try and make a persuasion check here?
Okay.
You want me to assist?
What
Sure.
do you say to assist?
I think she would say, "Yes, I'm good with this plan." I think she'd just be like in agreement.
Okay. So yeah, advantage.
That's a natural 20.
Yay!
So it begins. This fucking group.
First time I've used this dice too, so
Of course it is. Yeah, I believe that. And Naruto's mulls it over in their head, like kind of moving back and forth. You see their ears going up and down as they continue to think about this. They're not quite happy about it until eventually they sigh very heavily, their whiskers drooping. Well, I suppose if I do not technically know about this, then it's not exactly like I authorized anything. But
Give
of
us a proper
course,
scolding when we get back. It's fine.
unfortunately, this does mean it is entirely off the books. I cannot sanction any sort of reward or recompense for this.
That's quite all right. The knowledge we will gain from this instance will be more than enough.
Satisfaction from
helping
helping people in
people.
danger. Yes.
I agree with that one. Helping people.
Guildmaster, I think there is a fire in the forge.
Isn't there supposed to be a fire in the forge?
There is a fire in the fort that you should go look at for like about 10-15 minutes.
Oh,
It'd
I
probably
see.
take about that long to take care of.
Anaratos
Yes.
nods and says, "Yes, the spits have been quite clumsy as of late. You are very correct, Wokik. I will now go check on this and forget that I ever saw these people here."
What people?
Oh, what people?
They tap their nose a little bit and then make a very dramatic display of turning around and slowly walking out while making conversation with everyone else other than the people that are currently here.
Republic rules.
Fadra inclines her head and says, "Thank you. We knew that when we settled outside of zone that we were probably not adhering towards what we should be doing, but there is plenty of land here. We did not think that there was any trouble with this."
There seems to be trouble now.
Well, it's quite frequent that a lack of thought will lead to trouble.
But also, people should have a place to be.
I agree.
Indeed. I believe that the Republic should do much better about public housing for those looking for settlements.
You
Well,
understand.
well, it was mostly that we just did not want to live in Melopolis. We had come from across the sea already within packed and crowded cities. Why should we be forced to stay here instead of explore this wild green land?
If all people understand your desire to go elsewhere.
Well, then certainly you understand why winter damaging our crops and damaging our livelihoods is certainly not desirable for any of us,
Yes,
be
it
it those who stayed within Hild's Rest and those who left.
It is quite distressing. It doesn't bode well if this affliction spreads.
I would agree. And it is at that point that another person steps forward. This one, a dwarf, arrayed in the more Fey style garments, who basically tries to shoo Fadra away and jabs a finger up at her, saying, "If your people had not tilled the land and dug up everything that they could in sight in order to build their homes, none of this would have been happening in the first place."
What is your proof, good sir?
My proof is that we have already discovered that the Fae once owned this land, that they once laid claim to all of it. The fact that they would simply head out there and use with shovel and hoe to simply tear up the earth, they must surely be quite angered with all of us. That is why Fadra may sit here and mew like a kitten, begging for help from all of you, but yet she does not mention that violence has already come to Hild's Rest.
Oh, violence is never the answer.
Never.
It is sometimes the answer.
No, it is sometimes a requirement, but is never the answer.
It is an eventuality, but it is not a necessity.
You say violence has come. What exactly do you mean?
Their goat herds find themselves slaughtered in the morning. They find members of their own community turning up missing within the forest. Do they seriously think that these types of things are merely coincidences? They have surely angered something powerful that lay beneath the land, and now they are reaping their just rewards.
Oh, so you believe that this is all a comeuppance? It's all happening to them because they have angered the land.
Yes, you believe these people deserve to suffer.
I do not believe that anyone deserves to suffer, but I
That
do
is a good
believe that those who disturb that which is not theirs should certainly be instructed of what is wrong with their ways. That is why we have chosen to live in harmony with what our Fey ancestors would agree with.
Are
Yes,
you
yes.
native to the land you live on?
We have learned from what we have found here at the very least. We thought it the least that we can do, considering that we are trespassers.
Small
So wait,
question.
who owns
Did-
this land?
The dwarf shrugs and looks at you in confusion and says, "Nobody owns land."
Then how can someone be angry at a claim if they do not claim to own it?
If somebody were to go to where you lived and take an axe and begin chopping down doors, would you not be offended?
I would be impressed.
It will probably not last long, I
It's
agree.
became a very
but
tall,
you
glowy
say you
Asalar.
live there.
Ah, no. Here's the thing. If I saw somebody attacking my neighbor's door, and I did not believe that they should be doing that, I would go and I would stop them. I would have a conversation. I would say, "Hello. Are you aware that there are Fae occupying these lands? Somebody already is living here, or has remnants of living here. You should ask permission first." But so far, all you've said that is everything that has happened to them for the thing that I disagree with is just, which in fact it is not. If anything,
They're-
you are a poor neighbor.
They're not harming anyone, are they?
Simply by building their community where it was not wanted was a harm.
Why did you not stop them?
We tried, and so because we could not convince them, we left.
So you gave
So
up, and now you're blaming
they-
your failures on the Fae.
No, I'm confused. You were living there already.
We do not live within Hild's Rest. We live within the shadow of the mountains nearby.
So you did not live there. They decided to live there, but you do not hold claim to this land, correct?
While we once were part of Hild's Rest and helped establish the settlement, we once soon realized the error of our ways and decided to break way when we could not convince Fadra and her ilk to also abandon the village.
So you're all part of the original settlement and decided to leave and blame your fellow original settlers for these troubles? I am very confused now.
I say we go investigate this ourselves.
Yes, this makes no sense.
Yes, I tire of this conversation with this man.
Do the rest of you agree with the idea of going to investigate what exactly is happening out here?
Yes, I
Yeah.
believe we need to put our feet on the ground and take a look. It is quite clear that there are two different stories here, and one of them is most likely incorrect.
Okay. With that agreed upon, Fadra does her best to gather up the settlers of Hild's Rest to leave the chapter house now. The dwarf who introduces himself as Axios does the same, but with far more just rather grumbling and grunting over not exactly being heard.
We have a long road. We can talk on it. Obviously, both of you wish us for help, correct?
Fadra nods and says, at the very least, all we want is just for whatever is causing this snow is to go away. It is doing quite a bit of damage to our settlement.
Before we depart, I would like you to understand that there is a good chance that what is happening to your land that you have settled upon is in fact of your own cause. The Fae are a unique class of beings. And if what he says is true, there is a possibility that this has been brought on yourself.
Eh, the Fae.
They're bastards. All of them.
Yes.
We all acknowledge this, but they have their reasons for things.
I disagree, but carry on.
You disagree about which part?
I do not consider Fey bastards. I consider everyone equal.
Well, the way they handle things is not how I would perceive them to be even.
Very well. You're entitled to your opinion. Just saying that I don't consider them bastards.
They
You
lord over
needn't.
people like aristocrats. Blech.
You needn't
Do
insult
you-
others just because you don't agree with the way that they do things.
Aristocrats, do you know who you're speaking to?
We're going to have an interesting conversation, I see.
Yes.
Can we have this conversation on the road?
Yes, let's go.
Yes.
Both Fadra and Axios agree the time has come to leave Gelopolis. A messenger arrives from the forge, from the smithy, who says that Anaratos specifically told me not to tell all of you that within this satchel there are 3 healing potions and 3 alchemical salves of silver. You are specifically not to take these, considering they are not at all listed within the guild inventory. And they like step back and kind of like just like wait.
Oh, look at that bird over there. Look, look, look. Look, isn't
Never
it
seen
beautiful?
such a bird.
Such a lovely bird.
Yoink.
And she'll
Oh,
yeah, you just yeah.
yes! What a lovely cuckoo! I have never seen one of those before back in the homeland.
The coloration is breathtaking.
Indeed, I think I will focus on it for quite some time.
Thank you
For-
for not giving us your message.
You are certainly not welcome at all because I did nothing.
Shouldn't
So-
you be
Fetch,
doing
shall
something?
we?
So 3 regular potions of healing and 3 alchemical salves of silver, which can be applied to weapons or ammunition to make them silvered. Takes an action to do so. So the group hits the road out of Melopolis, leaving the great fortress walls of the city. You are all quite familiar with the frontier of the Eastmarch to know that it doesn't take long before the pastured and tilled fields just outside of the walls give way to wild, untamed, very thick forest. There are very, very few caravan trails that have ever cut through this entirely. Every single step, it seems like the land itself is fighting you. This is not an easy place to live, not for people of your ilk, at the very least. Fadra, Axios, and their communities walk relatively along with you as well, leading the way out towards Hill's Rest. They explain that the community is far enough out that it'll take at least 2 days' time to reach it on foot. With that said, is there anything that the group would like to discuss during their little travel, or anything they would like to ask of these people, or talk to anyone else?
I think that we should settle upon a couple of ground rules to follow when we establish this investigation.
Do tell.
Rule 1, we should listen to both sides, every and all side, if there are more, and we treat them equally and assume that they are telling the truth until we discover otherwise.
I'm sorry, now you want to treat people equally?
I never didn't want to treat them equally.
You just called Fae bastards.
Yes, they can be. The way they communicate is
Different from
Difficult.
yours, however, it does not mean that they are bastards for it.
I mean, technically, I don't know who my father is.
I see your point.
Technically, I am a bastard.
I will remove my predisposition and we'll look at this at even playing field for all parties involved.
Having said that, I do agree with your suggestions.
Yes. It seems logical.
It makes enough sense.
Second, we do not have certain rights that we would normally have on guild missions that we must overcome.
I'm very curious what these rights are, as these. It is almost like I am entirely unaware of them.
Yes, well,
Just refresh our memories.
the guild master was speaking that this is outside of their jurisdiction, which means that the Republic will frown upon our actions, whichever we take. That is my understanding, at least. So we are operating, in a sense, outside the law.
Mm-hmm.
Is everyone okay with this?
I am fine with it.
I'm fine. Laws
Laws are meant to be broken.
are
Laws are more like guidelines.
made by beings and don't really matter in the long run.
I'm just saying that there's a possibility that if something were to come to combat and we were theoretically to end a life, that we might potentially be tried for taking said life.
As long as it is to protect the people, I am willing to accept this.
Precisely that.
We must frame every combat in the sense of self-protection or protection of a otherwise incompetent fighter.
Literally speaking my language.
Indeed. The good news for you is that I am here, and I am not always a competent fighter. So, we have an out.
Speaking of which, what? Do we know each other?
Certainly, you would all know at least of each other, as you were all members of the same guild. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you all know each other. I leave that up to all of you to decide.
What skills are we bringing to this?
Well, I have a plethora of knowledge and some spellcasting abilities that may aid us in various circumstances.
Yes, I see you bring this very large book.
Indeed, this is my spell book. Please don't read it. It will burn your eyes.
Yeah, I need a book to cast spells, but I appreciate your need for it.
It is more of a practice thing. I read every morning and to refresh my memory of the spells in which I am capable of casting.
Perfect. I'll just summon my greatsword.
It is a trained magic, unlike your natural gifts.
I receive these gifts. I use them in service to life and safety.
Oh, magnificent. Would you mind, at some point, it doesn't have to be now, but speaking about that, going on the record for research?
Sure. I see why not.
I have a question. How does everyone react to the fact that there's a large Black Panther walking next to Aditi?
Yid is okay with it. She's actually very proficient with animal handling, so she's just like, good kitty.
He will be very pleased with that.
Yeah.
Likes
So
people
she's
that are friendly.
Wojciech is good at animal handling too.
Perfect. Good. Bailu's got friends then.
Must introduce. This is Bailu.
Yes, this is my pet panther, Bailu. Well, I suppose more than a pet. He's my best friend.
I will have to introduce Bailu to Misha at some point.
Who is Misha?
Misha is my friend.
Ah. And speaking of skills, and Aditi will kind of pull out her bow and arrow and she'll kind of notch one in. I'm a ranger, so I intend to fight if that's what it comes to, but I intend to use diplomacy first.
Excellent. I love rangers.
cool, then you'll love me too.
Oh, excellent! 2 of them.
And Wojciech will gesture at the 6-foot-tall piece of iron strapped to their back with a giant red star in the middle of it. I get in front of things. And then
How tall are you?
6'4".
Okay.
The thing
We
I
get in
like most
front of
about you.
things.
Continue.
And I inspire them, or terrify them if they are like a landlord, for instance.
The size of your arms inspires me.
They are quite large.
Yes, of course. In a pinch, I can also fly.
Ah,
He
yes.
is gonna pinch you.
Quite literal. Good joke. I appreciate it.
I can also do that. Just not very often.
Pinch people or fly?
Oh, I can pinch people all day.
Oh
Um,
my.
very well then. Should we progress on then and try and figure out what's going on?
Yes, let us progress.
You continue trekking throughout the Eastmarch, which the further away from Melopolis you get, the worse the roads become, until eventually there is no road that can really be spoken of. It's more just following these villagers through various forest trails and down paths that certainly are not paths at all. It just seems that they know the direction to go based upon the landscape and once the sun sets, the stars as well. At some point throughout your journey, Axios, the dwarf, approaches both Aditi and Yera.
Ida.
Yira, thank you so much. And says, I apologize for my rather gruff manner back at the chapter house. You must understand, this has certainly thrown quite a bit of us into chaos for quite some time now. But the two of you seem, at the very least, more attached to the land than these others that you travel with are.
All right. Well, I'm a hill dwarf. I kind of grew up in nature, so it's just a part of who I am and part of what I've learned over the years.
Hmm. With that said, there is something that we have not exactly revealed to Fadra or the others for fear of what they might have done if we did. Can we
Well.
trust you with it?
Of course.
We know that something strange is going on here because there is a small host of Fae that have come to us within the past few weeks that are living with us currently.
Oh.
They are autumnal in nature. They are the falling leaves and the whistling winds through bare branches. But something is wrong. They keep telling us that they should not be this way, that they should be within the full bloom and blossom of summer. But something is preventing this. Something is keeping them within this state of near death. It's torturing them. It's harming them. We feared that Fadra and her ilk may see them as the source of these problems and do something terrible to them just to make them stop.
Well, I know I won't say anything, and I know my lady Aditi here also values people's privacy, so we shall not say anything. We shall fight for the equality of everybody.
Absolutely.
And we will get to the bottom of this. This is obviously not an issue of Faye versus whoever else. It's obviously something above them.
Well, that is why we believe that Fadra and her kind have done something wrong. It is these fey creatures that have told us that something was removed from the land, though it's difficult to understand what exactly they mean. Something was taken, and shortly thereafter, that's when the snows started.
Did we ask them?
This was specifically this person approaching only Yida and Aditi as
Oh,
far as
shit.
listening. No, it's okay. Would you like to listen in? Would you like to
Yes.
eavesdrop?
Yes.
Certainly. Go ahead and make a perception.
Mind your business, Valfaris.
I
No, that's totally cool. Make a perception check.
Rude.
14.
14. You certainly overhear that Axios is telling Gita and Aditi about these strange Fey visitors and why they think that this is something that the community of Hild's Rest caused in some way.
Then the 7-2 SMR would walk straight up to them.
7-2.
Overcompensating much?
It's just how tall he is. Have we asked
Yeah.
them?
I'm sorry, was I talking to you?
I was listening. I'm just butting in.
Typical.
Typical.
If I had wanted you to know, would I not have approached you?
I know now.
I trust that Velfaris will also use discretion.
I mean, if you were being secretive enough, I wouldn't have heard it. Maybe you should be better at being secretive.
Anyway, so if something was taken, do we know where it was, like, taken from?
Supposedly somewhere around the community. They say that Hild's Rest itself owes its rather wondrous crop growth to some type of artifact that was buried beneath its soil. Again, it's very difficult to understand these creatures. We ourselves are still working it out. But they are quite confident that something affected it.
Why would anyone dig it up in the first place? That makes no sense.
Because people don't leave well enough alone.
Who is to say what the peasants' hoe managed to dig up out of the soil when they were so eager to plant soybeans?
Are they being loud at this point?
Yeah, that's.
We'll say yes. We'll say at this point both Carl, Dandleton, and Wojciech can also overhear this.
Why are you so upset about this?
Because we had lived in ignorance before, tilling this land when we had no respect for what had come before us. And here we find these artifacts, these legends of these people, and we what? Cover them over with our own plants, with our own homes? We throw out or repossess things that do not belong to us, and then what? Make them trinkets? Make them part of our doors and our chimneys?
This is the way of things everywhere.
Hold on. What you're saying is happening is you're digging up artifacts and implementing them into your homes.
At that point, Fadra comes over and says that, oh, well, you can't throw a rock within the Eastmarch without hitting something from whatever came before.
This is also true of literally everywhere. Why is this so special and not Melopolis or anywhere else?
Because nowhere else, Axio says, does it suddenly bring winter in the middle of summer.
It sounds like someone suddenly made someone angry.
Maybe the wrong thing was dug up this time.
Perhaps. That's why we're here. We're here to figure that out.
You were
To
saying,
fix it.
Wojciech? Yes.
It is complicated. This could be a curse. This could be malicious magics. This could be some kind of... Is this your first year in this place?
It is. Aye.
For all you know, this is just what it does this time of year. It is unlikely, but you do not yet know. There are many
Both.
options, not many answers yet.
Both Fadra and Axios exchange looks at the concept that this could just be what the Eastmarch is like, and they tend to very quickly brush that off. Both of them seem quite arrogant, or at least self-assured that surely that can't be the answer. That just wouldn't make any sense. But in all honesty, they don't know, and it's clear on their faces that they don't know and didn't consider that before.
And look, just like this, the two of you are in agreement.
Um, hmm. Make a persuasion check here.
Okay.
I want to see what happens.
23?
23. At noting that they finally agree on something that is affecting both of their communities, both Fadra and Axios manage to look back at each other and give, at the very least, a small incline at respecting the fact that neither of them is exactly any sort of master when it comes to the Eastmarch or what it may entail. And that very clearly, as the whole party has pointed out, this is affecting everyone in this area. And if it's not resolved, it will hurt all of them.
Can I roll a intelligence-based check to know if whether that is complete bullshit or not?
Sure. Do you have nature?
I sure as fuck do.
Either nature or arcana, I would say, is applicable here.
They're the same score.
Cool. Then just tell me which one you use, so that way I can tailor the information based upon the check.
Okay. I rolled an 18 plus 7 Arcana, which is 25.
On Arcana.
Yep.
At the very least, you would know that there certainly is magic that can manipulate the weather and seasons within localized areas. That definitely is a thing that can happen. As far as the history of that being recorded in the Eastmarch so far, no records in Melopolis have shown that yet, but the colony is quite new. It's only been established for 5 years, and who's to say that they've even seen half of what this frontier may bring. But it's certainly not something that the Voyagers Guild has encountered previously. But it can be a simulated effect, absolutely.
I'll just keep that to myself for now.
Okay, fair enough.
I was trying to shit on other characters' RP there, so I wasn't gonna be like, yeah, that can't happen. No.
Aditi, throughout the midst of all this, is there anything that you would like to add, or anything you'd like to comment on, or question, perhaps?
I think he's mostly listening, partially because I got interrupted and had to deal with the thing.
Right, all right.
So I kind of missed a couple of details. Yeah, I think she's mostly just listening very closely. She doesn't want to say too much and also give away too much about herself. So
Sorry.
What?
Oh, I was just like, my lady Aditi, but I think that's also just because we're the only two femme here.
Pretty
so
much.
We'll chalk it up for that.
Yeah. So yeah, she will mostly listen, and I think the only comment she would add to the whole thing is, well, perhaps we need to invite the Fae to the table to have a conversation as well.
At that, Fadra actually gets a little defensive and says that, but this doesn't entirely concern them, does it? This is between our own mortal communities. These creatures do not persist as we do.
Well, while you bring that up, and I agree that it is a mortal issue, one of the facets at hand here is that this gentleman is claiming that you are on Fey land, and the Fey are the ones that are making these actions against you and your people. They are very much involved, whether you want them to be or not. We have to at least hear them out.
If nothing else, they will have information you do not have.
We have to look at all sides of this.
Fadra merely bites down on her forked tongue, whispers a soft curse, and then says, "Fine. I suppose that hearing what Axios's gods have to say may be of some use."
So is this a prayer thing? Do we have to be on the land to do this? Is there shrines? I do not know your religion, but I would be interested to find out.
Axios says that he would be most happy to instruct you on everything they've discovered about worshipping and venerating the Fae within the Eastmarch. The entire time, Fadra is rolling her eyes and making small oblations to Demeter and Apollo instead.
At some point, Wojciech's eyes just glaze over.
That's more than fair. With go
With
ahead.
their thoroughly understood religion score of 0.
Carl is paying attention, but the whole time he's thinking like religion should have 0 impact on what's happening. I understand why certain people need it, not for me, and I don't care to think about it.
Yeah. It's
the masses.
Yeah.
It's very clear to all of you that Axios is very impassioned about this belief and that we should be venerating the Fae, we should be honoring the Fae within this land, and Fadra thinks that that's just nonsense. Essentially, she doesn't find any stock in it. She thinks that it's gibberish. But if unless anyone else has any other further questions or comments. By the second evening, you manage to make your way to the outskirts of Hild's Arrest, which, as you approach near the village, you do see snow. Tons and tons and tons of snow piling up on the ground for feet on ends. The air goes from being a balmy summer day to all of a sudden being frigid and freezing. The clothing that you may have brought from Melopolis may not have been enough as the temperatures suddenly plummet and you find yourselves in a wintry setting from basically one step to the next. The fields. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if anything, Wojciech puts on a hat, just like this, and looks more comfortable than usual.
Aditi will pull her scarf a little tighter around her, and that's about it. Although she's
Carl-
probably feeling a little chilly.
Carl will pull a big set of robes out of his bag and throw it on over his shoulders. And then I'd like to investigate like the transition space. I'm looking for like magical shit.
Okay. Are you just doing an Arcana check? Are you casting a spell? Or are you doing anything?
I will start with an Arcana check, and I will escalate to a ritual casting of detect magic if needed.
Okay, make an Arcana check. Vilfaris and Yida, how are you dealing with suddenly going from like 92 degrees to about 17?
She's fine with it.
Belvaris hasn't noticed.
Vilfaris hasn't noticed.
What's the weather like up there?
It's always cold this high up.
I think is great because dwarf and giant fucking celestial being.
And
Yes.
suddenly this ginormous Black Panther turns into an absolute like childish cat, and it's just like pawing at the snow like in absolute fascination. Just completely jumping into the snow. Yep. It's like exactly what you imagine a cat doing. 110%.
It is powdery enough where at one point Bailu leaps into a giant mound of it and just disappears. There's just a silhouette of where Bailu impacted before there's a rustling from another part of the mound and Bailu pops up from a completely different area, having
Yep.
tunneled underneath.
Yep, that's my pet cat, y'all.
And Carl Dandleton, how did that Arcana check shake out for you?
I got a 17.
You got a 17. While the air has certainly changed in texture and quality, going from very hot and humid to very dry, crisp, and cold, you can certainly detect the very faint scent of something magical within the area as well. It's very clear that passing through this, there is almost like a barrier of some sort that you've transitioned between. And you're not sure of the nature of that barrier, but you can tell that the cut is too clean. It's like the snow literally does not branch beyond one specific line, and then all of a sudden, winter.
Well, just for the sake of our investigation, I'm going to state the obvious here. This is, in fact, a magical effect. We can confirm that and assume that to be fact from here on out.
What kind of magic?
Well, give me 10 minutes.
Ice magic.
While you are doing that,
The ranger
Wojak
wants
is
to
gonna
roll her
is gonna-
arcana.
The ranger wants to roll her arcana?
Yeah.
Yida can certainly roll her arcana. And Wotiak, what were you doing?
Ritual find steed.
Ritual find steed. Okay,
Yeah.
so you are summoning a horse while Carl is ritual casting detect magic, and
No, Misha.
you're ritual summoning Misha.
Yes.
Misha the bear.
Yes.
Okay. And Yida uncovers.
21.
Holy shit!
That's why I was laughing earlier. I was like, oh.
Call odd or even and roll a d6.
uh, you suck. Even. And I got a 4.
Okay. Coupled with your Arcana check after Carl explains everything that Carl has currently discovered about this magical effect, your own familiarity with the wilds and ranging out here within the Eastmarch leads you to believe that while you can't identify the exact nature of the spell, you do know that amongst the local populaces out here, it's quite common for them to worship the Fae as gods of seasons, of seasonal change, of bringers of storms and harvests and rains and droughts and all sorts of things of that nature. With that, you do know it is within the power of very powerful Fae to suddenly cause great change like this, to change from summer to winter, or to change from a dry day to a monsoon in the blink of an eye. It's something they can do.
Hey, guys.
Yes.
And
Did you get that?
and Carl ritual cast detect magic.
Yes.
Coral.
Coral, that kills people.
Thank you.
By the way, when Carl casts magic, he has a wand.
Of course he does.
And and he's mumbling different
Bippity boppity boop.
incantations.
I love Hamora.
Mr. Dandleton discovers that as you open your third eye to the astral of magic, you are almost blinded by how powerful the spell is around you. Initially, you think it's the blizzard must have kicked up a little bit more, and it's turned into a full whiteout until you realize the barrier that you're looking at is incredibly, ridiculously powerful transmutation magic that appears to expand over a very, very wide area.
As Carl finishes casting, he'll kind of like stumble back and like shake his eyes, and then take a moment, compose himself, take his wand, and he's going to put it away in a very small sheath of sorts on his hip. Well, the magic is quite intense in this area. If I had to guess, I would say that it is created by a very powerful being, which would not rule out the Fae.
Yes, I agree. It is often said that the cultures here do worship the Fae similarly to gods, and some Fae are certainly powerful enough to cause issues like this.
Yes, I believe some, and perhaps our companions can assist, but they, from what I've read, they can be the bringers of seasons. Of sorts.
Yes.
Axios once more launches into a very long explanation about how it is quite wrong to worship Demeter or Apollo or Helios or any of the other normal Republican gods as the bringers of the sun, the harvest, and the rain, and that there are many others that they should be adhering to instead. He's very passionate about this.
He's so cute.
So, shall
So
we
if it's
proceed?
been 10 minutes,
Yes, it
one of
has because of the ritual cast.
this, like a pile of snow is just kind of tunneling towards everyone. Because I mean, this is many feet tall, so yeah. And then
How
as
many
it
is
gets,
many?
How big is this bear?
One too many lots.
yeah. Well then, but you hear like out from the snow just bursts this large brown bear.
Oh, good heavens!
Oh,
Aditi will pull out an arrow for a second.
Misha!
Oh, well
Hi.
then.
Oh my goodness!
Goes over and gives him big scritches behind the ear as he woofles. Everyone meet Misha.
So this is your Misha.
The villagers, terrified, kind of back up behind the rest of you. Some of them brandishing quarterstaves and slings because they don't know what the fuck just happened. A bear just showed up out of the snow. And those are normally very dangerous to them.
Oh,
Ro, is that you?
Now, the one thing about Misha is a very yes, very large brown bear, but a very calming, essence surrounds him. Because he's a celestial brown bear.
this creature is magnificent.
He
Albeit I
is.
was
Can
unaware
I pet
that
him?
they would be joining us. It took me
Yes.
back.
He loves scritches, especially behind the ears. Oh, yes.
Misha, come down here.
Yeah. Scritch, scritch, scritch.
you say celestial.
Yes.
He's a celestial bear.
Mm-hmm.
Bend down and just stare in his face.
Aww.
Hello.
Does the tongue loll?
I like
Very
this
happy bear.
For the briefest of moments, Belfaris, you hear within Celestial in your mind. It is good to meet another one of my kind upon this plane. I welcome you, Sir Knight.
one. Likewise.
Nobody else hears this.
Oh wait, crap. What do I speak? No.
It was brain words, right?
His brain words.
Oh, cool.
His brain words is telepathic bear projecting it directly into your mind.
That's not weird at all.
Which is so cool.
I like your bear.
Thank you. He is a good friend. And Wojciech will, hoist up on the back of Misha.
As you do, Misha suddenly turns Misha's nose towards the village further off and suddenly gets very, very, hackles raised, fur puffing out. You can see a snarl starting to form at their muscle.
What is it?
Before Misha can give an answer, the bear takes off, pounding through the snow into the village, heading towards a pasture, or what might have been a pasture, considering you can barely see the tops of the fence posts sticking out from the snow itself. The villagers, once again, shocked, are kind of look at each other and don't know whether to follow or what is going on. Maybe the bear is just gone insane. They don't know.
And there goes Wojciech on the back of Misha. Shit!
I suppose we better catch up.
On it, Aditi will hop on the back of Bailu and they will take off behind.
Seeing everybody starting to take off in a direction, I'll take flight and fly behind. I can move it 50 feet per round flying.
Of
Um,
course.
Velfaris, dear, would
Hi.
you mind helping out the little dwarf?
Yeah, come on.
Thank you, dear.
On my back.
Yeah. Because there's no way my tiny ass is ever gonna catch up.
I'm not as fast as a bear or a panther, but we'll get there.
You have a bigger gait than I do.
Velfaris and Yetta get there behind everyone else to the same exact scene. The villagers apparently had dug out as best as they could a small stable and ranch in order to house their animals within the snow. However, the scene that greets you is a grisly one, where
No, it's
it
a brown bear.
appears.
I'm sorry.
It's a
I'm
brown.
so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Jack, control yourself.
That was such a Than thing to say right then.
The scene that greets you is a gory one.
Gross.
As you see that something or someone or what has you has done quite a bit amount of carnage to both the creatures that were here and the manger itself. It's rent and torn as if with very large blades ripped through it. It looks quite fresh. Blood is still warm upon the snow and melting it.
Do I get a
So-
sense that I could, what direction they may have gone?
That would either be an investigation or a survival check.
We could help with survival.
Yeah, survival would be better by very little.
I believe Yetta is pointing out the fact that the ranger probably has survival. I'm assuming Aditi does as well.
Yes, please.
I actually don't for some reason.
The best
kind of
kind of ranger.
I'll just
I'm
look
a
up.
paladin with survival, so I get it.
Do you see?
19.
So now
tracks,
that
or-
Misha has chilled out, I guess, and they do the whole telepathic talking thing. What the hell? What the hell, Misha?
Misha telepathically gets back that Misha doesn't really speak words. Misha gives you images, sense, feelings that animalistically Misha has experienced. You get across a sense of something abnormal and strange, something with murderous intent, with violence, as if you could literally smell the aggression and the fear that was happening here. You also get the sense of something. Trying to think of how to explain this. Wintry, but not like what's in the area. Something even colder, something even more difficult to breathe in, as if something originated from a place experiencing more chill than even the town of Hild's Rest. And certainly something fey, something not mortal. You keep on getting across in your mind the image of dust. And
It's like dust, very cold dust. As like Wojciech is like sniffing the air now.
and I believe Yida and Velfaris were making survival checks. What we got here?
I got 19.
19?
9.
19 and 9.
That works because you're 7 foot tall and I'm closer to the ground.
Yeah, you're definitely have a better look.
Minus 10 for being 7 foot tall.
Yida, whatever attacked this place certainly was of a very light step. The snow, you would think, would immediately give away anyone that managed to approach this place from any direction. However, the tracks are quite hard to find, and the blood, unfortunately, seems to just be around the unfortunate victims here. You are able to tell, however, through a bit of searching through the snow, that there are indeed footsteps, very long, very narrow steps. Definitely not human or humanoid style ones that any of the villagers would have made, or any of you would have made for that matter. But you do notice that they appear to be short steps, as if the creature that made them is about maybe the same height or size as you, the same gait that you would have. However, every now and then you notice that there are step, 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 and then nothing. And then in a somewhat similar direction to where you found the last ones, about 30 to 50 feet away, all of a sudden they begin again. And then another jump, essentially, as if something was like leaping through the snow. But whatever their leap was, there was no further impact that made a deeper imprint. You see that these have scampered off away from the town of Hild's Rest and deeper into the forest. And beyond the forest, all of you see a looming mountain, a massive, massive mountain whose peak in night cannot actually be seen as it extends above the wintry clouds that have descended upon this area.
Here's the next question. Were there other people here, or just the animals attacked?
Um, it doesn't look like there were other people here. It looks like it was indeed just the animals. But when both Fadra and Axios and the rest of the villagers finally catch up, Fadra falls to the ground in despair, pointing out that these were the last of our livestock. Well, without these, we have no way to possibly ever survive beyond this. Our food stores won't last if this continues.
Then we must find a way to stop this so that you may yet survive.
And due to checks earlier from both Vofaris and from Woltiek, Axios at that point steps forward and says that we could not let our fellow people go hungry at the very least. If this does take longer to be resolved, we will do our best to make sure that stomachs are at least full.
Thank you. It is very kind.
Thank to all of you for pointing out that despite our differences in faith and perception, it does not mean that I truly wish these people to suffer.
Very glad to hear that.
I'm glad to see that no other people were harmed, though. Are there other people here? Looking around.
There were other villagers that were in their homes in Hild's Rest. The congregation that came to the Voyagers Guild only appeared to be about 10 people from this settlement and 10 people from those that left. So
It is interesting that just the animals were attacked and not the people.
Yes.
That
Perhaps
speaks
someone,
to calculation.
Intelligence,
perhaps someone is trying to send a message.
perhaps.
Seems like it is a deliberate action, meant to drive people away. Remove the thing that is keeping them here.
it is Bailu's turn to suddenly turn towards the wind, and his whiskers begin to kind of like crinkle up as he begins sniffing the air. But instead of snarling, he kind of like gets down a little bit. His tail gets very, very stiff. He's caught the scent of something. He's tracking something.
Aditi will pick up on it right away and go, what is it? And she will immediately like be like right next to him and like also kind of scoping out the land and trying to figure out what he's sensing.
Bailu looks back at Aditi with kind of like a kind tilt back and forth. It's very clear Bailu doesn't understand what he's detected. He's confused in a sense. It's a scent that he's not familiar with. But at the same time, he gets down low to the snow. His paws sink into the snow a little bit, and he has to not put his center of gravity so low. It's still taking him some time to adjust. But after a moment, he begins to pad off towards the direction that Yida pointed out the tracks. He starts at a very slow kind of trot, eventually building up speed until after a moment he kind of turns back to Aditi and gives a yawp that basically says like you need to get a dog right now.
And Aditi will hop on and say, anyone that wants to follow, you better follow.
I will take the skies.
And away they go.
Wojciech will reach down to Ida. Get red? You're muted.
Sure.
Follow along.
Off we go. Yep. Off we go.
Do.
The flying.
That was so
Fucking
good.
flying.
Bailu, swift of paw than all of you, manages to make it out of Hild's Rest. The panther is just torn through the entire town, eventually coming to a rest by a signpost that has been set up just outside of the town's perimeter. Winter still lasts here. In fact, the closer you get to the mountain, the more cold it seems to get, the more snow seems to fall. Resting against the signpost is a creature that does not look entirely mortal. Their hair appears to be of tumbling branches and deadened leaves. Their skin has the pallor of birchwood. Their eyes look up at you with the amber sap of a maple tree that has just been tapped at the 1st of October. And at...
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, Aditi's never come across anyone like this. Would she immediately know that this is a fae, though?
More than likely, it's very, very obvious that this is some type of creature of the land.
Okay.
But Aditi can see very clearly that they're clutching their chest, and when they move their hand away, sticky black sap is leaking from a gash across it.
Oh dear. She'll approach very cautiously and say, "Are you all right? Do you speak common?"
It tries to. They try to speak in common, and it's very, very halting and very, very. Like they can't seem to parse the words correctly. They're growing frustrated and tired from the wound trying to do so.
Aditi will cast Cure Wounds. Yeah, we'll just do like a first level Cure Wounds if possible,
Okay.
please. So
Absolutely.
I need to roll 1d8.
Yep, plus your mod,
Plus my
your wisdom modifier.
wit of wisdom, which is +1. And that is a 5, so 6.
6 total.
6 total.
You lay your hands upon the creature, and as you cast the spell, what does it look like when Aditi casts healing? How does Aditi cast?
She'll place her hands upon the wound, and she'll kind of close her eyes and just she'll almost like whisper to herself. It almost seems like she's praying. And that's how she just kind of almost like presses the cure wounds into the wound, I guess.
Okay. Instead of muscle and flesh re-knitting beneath the wound, it looks almost like the firm, hard orange interior of like a squash or a pumpkin instead that slowly begins to meld back together until a barky outer shell covers over top of it. With a very haltering deep breath, the creature sits up and a almost skeletal kind of hand reaches out and lays very softly on your shoulder as it mutters, "Thank you, Dustling. A moment more, and I would have to have, well, just continued suffering. As it turns out, we can't shift beyond this coil any longer."
And Aditi, is it likely that this person speaks Elvish or Sylvan?
More than likely Sylvan would be
Okay.
applicable. It is a... Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, at this point, everyone else is kind of catching up to the point where seeing that Aditi has healed this creature and is speaking. I'm assuming now in Sylvan.
Yeah, she'll swap to Sylvan, having figured out who she's kind of talking to. She'll put her hand out to the villagers and everyone to kind of be like, stay away for a second, like hold up. And she will say, "What did you call me? A dustling?"
That is what you are, is it not?
I suppose so. I've never considered it that way. And tell me more about what's happened to you. You cannot. What did you say?
Normally, such things are merely a nuisance to my kind. We would simply return back to the land and come back as a juniper leaf, or come back come spring as a blossom. But we cannot shift. We cannot change. We are stuck, frozen in place in this horrendous still life.
That's
We cannot die as once we did.
Do you have any idea why that may be?
Because of one of our own.
I think we need to tell me who this person is first.
Very well. And that is where we will actually go to break. Aha!
Yeah.
About to pop.
So, before we head on over to break here from our little one-shot session tonight, do want to give a quick shout out to our patrons, our wonderful, amazing patrons who make all of this and more possible because they are just so awesome and good. And all of you should consider coming and checking us out on patreon.com/welcomepartyrpg, where you can also go ahead and help us out by joining our host with the most tier, which includes the wonderful likes of Jack C, Nerdy T, Michelle E, and our newest patron within this tier, Abigator. Thank you so much for your continued support and making sure that we can continue doing the awesome job that we do. While we are heading over to break, in the meantime, before we get back, why not head on over to roll20.net/start/WTTP and sign up for your free account today. Over 4 million people use Roll20's virtual tabletop to power their favorite games, and with modules galore in the marketplace, you will definitely find something for your group to enjoy. We will be back in roughly 10 minutes to continue our adventures here within the Eastmarch. So until then, this is not Hyperdrive. I don't have a catchphrase. Just come back in 10 minutes and you'll continue to see more amazing Fae adventures with our wonderful Stormy crew.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all
go to the lobby.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. If you get a second during break, you should check out one of our amazing sponsors. We're now proudly sponsored by Roll20, the best virtual tabletop for all your role-playing needs. Over 4 million people use Roll20's virtual tabletop to power their favorite games. And with more modules than you can shake a stick at on their new revamped storefront, you'll definitely find something for your group to enjoy. Sign up today by clicking the link below or heading to roll20.net/start/WTTP. Tabletop Loot is an amazing place to get your dice bags, dice boxes, and more. And now you can get 15% off your purchase at tabletoploot.com by using the code WTTPDICE at checkout. Tabletop Loot. Your party starts here. While you're at it, check out our so awesome merch store, So Nerdware. So Nerdware is the place to find all your Welcome to the Party merch and other amazing stuff too. Head on over to sonerdware.com and use the code WELCOME at checkout to get 10% off your next purchase. So Nerdware. It's what the nerds wear. Devin Rue, the amazing mistress of maps, has kindly supported the channel since the beginning and provides graphics for many of our streams. Head on over to rueinc.com to check out some of the best fantasy cartography on the web. Our Patreon supports the creators and producers of the channel by providing Roll20 subscriptions, cost coverage for video hosting, and more. If you want to support the channel while getting podcasts a week early, gaming articles that are published on Patreon first, a shout out during our break, and more, head on over to patreon.com/welcomepartyrpg and throw us a buck or $5. And last, but certainly not least, help out the party. Subs and bits not only support the stream, but also every 500 bits or a tier 1 sub gives a player or DM of your choice a reroll or system equivalent, and every 1000 bits or tier 2 sub gives a player or DM of your choice a crit or system equivalent. Thanks again for hanging out with us today. The game will be back in just a few minutes.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the party where we are playing a D&D one-shot set in a Westmarches style campaign, as our normally scheduled Storm of 4 is currently on a small break for tonight only. I don't know things. Anyway, we just ended where the party has discovered what appears to be a fey creature that was wounded. And a DT managed to use some ranger magic and heal them up. And the Fae revealed, as the rest of the group approached, that all of the troubles and problems that they have currently encountered apparently was caused by one of their own.
I think Aditi will kind of like beckon everyone closer and relay that information and translate for the Fae as they kind of tell their story.
Fascinating.
The Fae does try their best to speak in common, just because it would be the polite thing to do at that point. But it's
Okay.
very, they don't want a DT translating literally every single thing verbatim. But it's a very halting common. It's very clear that they are not very comfortable with this tongue or very familiar using it, but they try. They explain essentially that they had come here to stop what was about to happen tonight. But they themselves became a victim of these foul deeds themselves. Axios, the dwarf, upon seeing the injured Fae, basically like falls to his knees and openly weeps along with all of his followers as well. To which the Fae kind of looks at them like curiously, like not really understanding this reaction. They don't get it. But they carry on with their story anyway, explaining that their name is the first leaf that falls when the winter spring comes. They say that leaf is more than applicable to call them by.
It is a pleasure to meet you.
Yes, indeed.
Hello.
Likewise, dustlings.
I like the dustling. I like that.
This is a new term. What do you call yourself?
We are just the people. Is the term not suitable? And again, they tilt back and forth. They're honestly unsure.
Explain why you say dustling.
It's because it is what you are.
Dust?
Are you not? When... Go ahead.
Well, technically, dust is just mostly dead skin, so I can see it.
Yes,
It
I
is?
find it acceptable.
Ooh.
When you end your lives, one way or another, eventually that is all you become. Dust to feed the land. When we die, we simply return back. Or at least we used to.
Ah, they used to. This sounds like a problem. Also, they worship you, by the way. I did not know if you were aware.
Leaf kind of smiles in a very awkward manner, saying, "Yes, we have seen that these ones seem to offer us things, but I'm not entirely understanding of their custom. It is certainly not within our own. We have certainly tried to enter into bargains and pacts with them, but that does not appear to be their wish. It's very confusing."
I have a theory that their religion is based primarily on fear. Fear of what they do not understand.
It sounds like most religion.
Yeah, yes, very much, yes.
Leaf shrugs, and basically like I don't get this, and I don't deem to even want to understand it. It's a very confusing behavior to them.
So,
So-
theology aside, you were attacked by one of your own people.
Yes.
Ah, that is a common thread we can pull on.
I have overheard and seen that the dustlings here blame each other for why the cold does not cease.
Do you know why?
The cold does not cease because one of our own makes sure that winter stays.
Why?
It is difficult to put into terms that dustlings can understand, but essentially, with these settlers, I believe they call themselves, that they have changed the earth in ways that we never did nor could. They use implements, they use things to change the way waters run, they use things to make things grow when normally they should not grow at all. One of our own grew fearful at this, thought that they possessed some type of power that is unknown to our kind. We are quite content that when it rains, it rains. When it does not, it does not. When there are clouds, there are simply clouds. And when something blossoms, we enjoy it for when it does, but we do not force it to do so. But these people can.
Well, it is a simple difference in culture.
And Leaf nods and says, perhaps in the ways that the Dustlings do not understand us, we struggle in some ways of understanding them. You must understand that even learning your tongue has been a most perplexing experience. I speak with the rustling of the wind through the leaves and the babbling of the brook. This is almost demeaning to bring my words to such strange sounds just to be heard.
Carl will respond in Sylvan and will say, I understand how difficult it is to learn a new language.
Does everyone
Uh,
speak like this?
Leaf nods readily, and says that yes, it is extremely difficult, and yet I have seen these dustlings speak many. How is that even possible? What magics do you use to put these in your head?
Was that in Sylvan?
No, it's still in common because Leaf is trying to.
Okay. As somebody who can speak 6 languages, a lot of it is just finding common words. There's a lot of words that often have the same syntax and the same roots, if you will. And um it's it's often just a matter of finding that commonality. Is that a word? Um and then going from there and then understanding that not all of them are extremely different. A lot of these words can mean the same thing. It's just a different writing or speaking.
Leaf seems to consider this and nods, but ultimately is a bit helpless and says that clearly, despite the fact that you have lived for a much shorter amount of time, you are far wiser in the way of tongues. It is not something our people needs per se. You all seem so obsessed with things like time and present and future, and these are all one concept to us. It is difficult to understand, but we did try for the sake of the dustlings that came to us. All except one of us. One of us who kept on saying that these creatures were to not be trusted.
what is
So-
this individual's name, and where could we perhaps come to meet them to discuss the differences between all these?
I suppose the best translation for their name is the Baronet of the Grim Remembrance.
Ah, Winter. This makes sense now.
Mm, it should not be winter. But whatever it is that the Baronet has done, it has caused us to revert to as we were before winter snow came. We are not supposed to look like this. We are not supposed to feel like this. Every single day is an existence of understanding the agony of what it means to slowly waste away, to fall with autumn. But we are supposed to be in full bloom at this point.
What can we do to help?
Unfortunately, our kind cannot easily resist our own kind. We know each other's tricks, and we know that at this moment, we can't even permit ourselves to return to the land to be regrown. Fae cannot stop Fae. But you all bring other things: steel, silver, magic. It would not exactly harm the Baronet. In death, they, just like us, would eventually return to the land and be reborn. It would reset the natural order of things. But I suppose it is, as Dustlings would say, asking you to kill, to make die.
But essentially, we'd be resetting the cycle.
That is
You
what
are-
needs to be done.
You are very clear that you cannot return to the Earth, so you're saying ending this cycle for the Baronet would start a new cycle.
It would at least let this winter's reign end and return in full bloom the glory of summer.
Carl, is this what you would call a loophole?
Yes, yes, this is definitely a way to navigate around the jurisdiction problem that we encountered.
We are not killing, we are harvesting. Yes.
Resetting.
We are encouraging the seasons to recalibrate themselves.
We are fixing nature.
Yes.
The settlers here do not appear to be knights. Are you all then knights? Is that the right word?
Of course.
No,
Not the-
technically,
It is not
I-
technically correct. No.
we do not have such esteemed titles such as knight at this present moment. We are simply members of a guild looking to solve a problem.
At most, you could call us champions.
The Fae's eyes widen at those words, and Leaf goes, yes, that one I am familiar with. And in Sylvan, they get across the concept of, again, people who are skilled at arms of war, essentially, people who are heralded in song and poetry and remembered for eternity.
We get songs? Oh.
Please translate that so I can be like,
Well,
Yes.
well, not everyone gets songs, but
yeah, we don't all, but it's not about the songs, it's about the work.
indeed.
But these songs are how you bring up the morale of the people. You tell a tale
I let the
of
bards-
their-
I let the bards handle that.
Hey, you toss coins to them. It is the same.
Yes. Perhaps they will see songs of this work we do.
What
It is
would
for
be
us
the
to just do good work.
what would be the best way to defeat the Baronet?
Baronet.
Baronet.
I suppose with steel, with whatever it is that you all dustlings use to return yourselves to dust. But like our kind, we have proven quite difficult to harm with merely regular metals.
What about iron? Pointing at the giant slab.
Iron shaped by merely strength of dustling will seems to be quite effective, as is the moon's metal as well.
By that, do you mean silver?
I believe that is what it is called, yes.
We have some of that.
Indeed. As if it were fate.
That would make a good song.
It would.
Indeed. Oh! I have an excellent song title. The Fate of Spring. Because we are transitioning from winter to summer. We are acting as of spring.
And it has Faye almost in the title. It's almost a pun. I like it.
Yes. I'm quite proud of myself. I might take a level in Bard.
So, this Baronet, how do they handle fire?
Leaf thinks about it for a moment and shakes their head and shrugs as well as any of our kind would.
Is that not well? I do not know.
Leaf shrugs and says, "We burn much as trees do."
Perfect.
Good enough. So,
We each have our way.
where are they?
Leaf points towards the mountain.
That makes sense. Is there a safe path?
There are no safe paths where you tread.
Excellent.
We will make them ourselves.
I have studied mountains. I would be happy to lead the group.
I would be happy to follow.
Yes.
Okay. Gita, anything to add or say, or? Okay. I'm assuming then that the group is resolved to go up into the mountain and find the Baronet of the Grim Remembrance and make summer come. The adults about this.
No,
Trying so hard. Okay.
you broke Smurf.
Yup.
You head on up into the mountain.
He's just going into the shame closet.
Gone.
Oh, he's coming back with a new character and a new personality.
It's the
Knowing
closet of
Smurf.
shame. Is that what's happened?
Knowing Smurf, that's accurate.
That's actually.
Don't you dare.
Come here, Carl.
Oh my God.
Coral! Come on,
We
Coral.
good? We good?
Understood. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. You head on up into the
That's real
mountains.
good.
The mountain peak here is incredibly treacherous to navigate, the winter storms only making it even worse. The snow comes down in blinding waves until all you can see before you is just white and the smallest specks of the night sky peeking out behind it. There is no path to trod. The rocks themselves are jagged and sharp. There is ice all over that makes any sort of navigation difficult, to the point of all of you are in quite a large amount of fear of slipping and sliding off of a treacherous surface and down tumbling into the depths below. We are going to treat this very quickly as a skill challenge, essentially. So
Alrighty.
we're going to go ahead and make it where it's 6 successes needed before you accumulate 3 failures. And the way it works is that you can only use skills that you yourself are proficient in. If somebody uses a skill, nobody else can use it.
Oof.
It is a bit of an oof. But it is also, you get to argue to me why particularly your chosen skill should work here. And success will mean that you successfully navigate all the dangers of the mountain and manage to make your way into the home of the baronet. Failure would mean that some terrible natural disaster happens on the mountain and makes things that much worse for you when you all arrive. Who wants to go first?
Sure. Is anyone else planning to use athletics? Let's start there.
No.
No.
I have 4
Perfect.
proficiencies. I'm limited as hell.
All right.
Go for it.
So, Wojciech would want to use athletics to take the iron curtain and use it as a snow shovel to make a path for everyone.
For clarification, the Iron Curtain is their shield, correct?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
I love
And give me that. Go ahead and give me that athletics check.
That is a 15.
15 is just barely enough.
Oh, thank fuck.
So how exactly do you succeed with shoveling out everything with the Iron Curtain?
Wojciech gets on Misha and uses and places it in front of Misha like a snowplow, and they move forwards.
And all of you fall in behind the plowed out path that Wojciech manages to make as you trundle further up the mountain, the snow continuing to come down, the wind cold and harsh and biting until everyone's skin feels burned and raw. Who goes next?
Than, why don't you go?
Oh, God. I don't have enough inspiration for this yet. Trying to figure out how I can deceive or intimidate our way through this.
I'll go then.
Yeah,
Fuck it. YOLO. I would like to.
In this campaign, that may be true.
I mean, we're trying to get summer to come, so.
Who is Summer? I'm sorry.
I would like to use
Summer buddy once told me.
investigation as I'm flying above the group. I would like to be looking out for unnatural clues of like the area that we're going through. Looking for things that like stand out to me, like, oh, that's fucking super weird, type of thing. To help guide our path.
Yeah, go ahead. That sounds like a great investigation roll. Go ahead with that.
25.
25 is more than enough. Well, what exactly does Carl Dandleton find through this investigation that makes navigating the mountain easier? What does he discover?
I'm trying to think of like things that would make sense here. Things that are specifically investigation and not survival. Is what I'm struggling with.
Windbreaks.
Yeah, I'm thinking like a path that like keeps people out of the wind, type of thing. Or maybe like natural escapes from the environment. So like help guide the path in ways that like the trees block wind and that type of thing.
Yeah, that absolutely works. Where you're able to find like certain like outcroppings within the cliff face that wind up the side of the mountain that keep you out of the worst of the environment and make it a little bit easier to ascend. Perfect. That's 2 successes down. You need 4 more. Who's next?
All right, I've got an idea.
You're gonna yell at the mountain?
I'm gonna yell at the mountain and say, "What the fuck?"
I mean, it
Oh,
may work.
because I cannot imagine deception or intimidation working here, so I can't use my good stuff. So we're gonna go with perception, and I am going to try to perceive because there's a lot of snow cover. It's very heavy.
Oh yes.
I'm trying to perceive different variations in basically just trying to keep us from falling into pits or falling off the side of edges or falling rocks, landslides, just trying to.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Keeping an eye out for the worst dangers that might
Yeah.
waylay the party.
Yeah. That's what I got. That's 14.
14 is not enough.
I did not
So,
expect.
so 14 is not enough. So in that case, that's one failure. You tell me, what does Vilfaris not perceive correctly and causes a problem?
I would say that we're trying to climb over a like a log, and it's hollowed out, and we didn't realize obviously because of the snow, so it kind of caves in, and it brings just a whole bunch of snow fills our way, and it just makes it harder to get through.
Sure enough, it's now all of a sudden not only are you dealing with the wind and the sleet and ice and everything else like that. Now the snow itself seems to have trapped the group down the path that you've managed to go. What do either Yida or Aditi do in order to circumvent this?
So Yita's gonna survival her way out of this and MacGyver the fuck out of it, and just sort of clear, like using the nature around her and the terrain around here just to kind of like maneuver it a lot quicker and a lot easier for everybody. It is my like favored terrain, so everything that's going on is she's just making sure everything is where it should be, kind of thing. Like, okay, there's these, we can take this for like extra food. She's being a little like resource gathering, also it's just like watch out for the tree. Obviously, because Wilfaris is 7 foot tall, he didn't hear me, so he hit the thing. But so she's gonna do that, and it's mostly just like resource gathering and making sure nobody else like eats shit.
Okay, now you said that Arctic is a favorite terrain of yours, right?
Mountain and Arctic.
Mountain and Arctic. Due to mountain being a favorite terrain, go ahead and make this check with advantage, as this is your environment.
I mean, at 20 plus the 4
Okay.
anyway.
So then maybe not advantage. Sure. And how does your success translate? What exactly do you do to help out the party here?
She's mostly helping Velfaris to feel the terrain a little bit better. Mostly because she realized he can't see much because his head's almost in the clouds essentially to her. And so she's just sort of like seeing eye dog for Velfaris. And it's just kind of like navigating everything really well, and then is like, you know, relaying it over to Gojek and Carl, and is like, you see this, don't touch it, you see that, touch it, you see this, don't eat it, like, and it's just a lot of like seeing eye dog.
And thanks to your wilderness survival expertise here, you managed to make your way around the snowdrifts and snowbanks, continuing to ascend even further up the mountain. It is starting to get extremely frigid. All of you can feel your teeth chattering, your bones shaking as the cold continues to whip by.
Okay,
Who goes next?
I think that leaves me for now.
Yep.
I will use nature. And mountain is also one of Aditi's favorite terrains. It's forest and mountain. So
that's advantage.
fabulous. And basically, should I roll first?
Sure. If you want to choose a skill, roll first and then justify what happens.
Yeah, I'm going to That is a 19 plus 4 is the higher of the two.
Yes.
Yes. Aditi will use her nature skills to kind of essentially kind of help. I think it was help Carl, and the two of them can kind of work in tandem to figure out the best path, and then tell she can kind of tell what check to go over here or over there, and between all of them kind of teamwork together, figuring out which way to kind of weave through everything to try and make the best and the easiest path possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
The easy path you do indeed find. However, the easy path is still up a fucking mountain. It is
Yeah.
starting to become harder to breathe. The exertion of the ascent and climb is starting to take its toll on everyone. You can feel that the air is thinner up here. You can feel that you're starting to slow as the cold just will not let up. Who goes next? Top of the round per se, so whoever wants to go can go.
And still not repeatable.
I could use history and use like past knowledge of like this specific mountain to like, I don't know, it's
Sure.
almost like a lore thing, like listen to like remember stories about things, like if a writer fucking Henry David Thoreau was up there writing poems or some shit, like remember like this is what winter felt like type of thing.
That works.
That's a 16. 9 plus 7.
Again, just barely within the realm of passing, but you do indeed pass. Do you have an idea for what exactly you find with your history check, or how it helps out, or?
I'll notice like a landmark that I recognize from a historical thing that says like there's a cave coming up that some people spent the night in. We must be getting close to something meaningful.
Yeah, no, that certainly works. What you find actually is the cave used to be an old miner's rest, as they made an ascent into the mountain to eventually reach an entrance near the peak that they would then use to descend into the mountain for shaft mining. It gives a very brief respite from the cold and allows everyone to kind of shore up for the very last part of the trek. You're almost there. Who brings you home?
I think I got one.
You got one? What you got?
I think I got one. Aditi is very charismatic, and I want to use persuasion, to kind of use my charisma and, because it's getting so much harder and morale is kind of starting to fade because like of how bad the weather is, and Aditi wants to kind of persuade everyone to be like, we're almost there. See, we're almost there. Like, come on, we can do this, right? And just kind of like encourage everyone and persuade them to not stop and to keep going. And yeah.
Cheerleader.
Yeah, cheerleader. Okay. That is a 14 plus 7.
If
7.
it's a 14, it's a 14 plus anything, you succeed.
Okay.
How does everyone respond to Aditi's cheerleading to get the group the rest of the way there?
I think Wojciech just kind of like straightens their shoulders and nods and grunts and just heads back out into the snow, like in this, now the shield up, ushering everyone behind them.
Okay.
Yita's gonna look at Velharis and be like, ready? And then just kind of like,
Let's do this.
yeah.
We are on the precipice of excitement, and I cannot be more thrilled to be with you all.
Fucking.
You're on the cusp.
Yita's just gonna stab him with one of her arrows.
Take 1d4 points of damage. Anyway. Don't.
Pain is a motivator.
It is a motivator.
as we are getting up close, Wojciech will kind of look around at everyone else. So who needs to coat their weapons in silver? 1, 2.
Silver arrows, man, you can't beat those.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 2.
And
My
you.
sword isn't actually real, so
But does it
I
count
guess-
as a magic weapon?
should.
Does it?
I believe packed weapons do. Let me
Oh,
see.
they do.
Yeah,
They
packed
do?
weapons
Six
count as
Okay.
magical.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, then you're good.
Then in that
I
case,
would-
it'll go the last one to Wojciech then.
Okay. Aditi and Yida. Yida can silver 20 pieces of ammunition by basically holding her arrows and like dunking them into the pot. Wojciech can cover their hammer in the silvery substance, and it will last for a grand total of 6 hits. After that, the silver will basically be so brushed off that as to be ineffective again. Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, with that being the case, you all finally make it to near the peak of this mountain after a very long, arduous journey. It's taken so many hours at this point that you're so high up, you can see the barest hint of the sun actually beginning to crest in the east. You stand now before a rather large cave opening, a mouth that is almost entirely covered in ice and frost. You can see icicles, very, very sharp, very, very long, hanging from the top of it. Nothing lives up here. It is far too sparse. It is far too cold. But inside, all of you can definitely tell that whatever chill is emanating from this mountain is made far, far worse by whatever is inside.
Shall we?
I
Okay,
think we do.
let's do it.
Guess
We
Wojciech
shall.
will shield up and hammer and go forward.
I'll summon my sword.
Okay. You summon up everything that you folks need and head on inside. The cave itself is very, very slick. It's hard at points to get your footing. It appears to open up into a very natural gem cave, actually. You can see that even as the sun is only barely rising, enough light is reaching into here to make the ice and crystals dance with each other, to make it actually quite colorful on the inside. Whatever color may have brightened this place up, however, all of you can still feel that supernatural chill. Until eventually a voice begins echoing throughout the cavern. Leave now, and I may yet spare you.
I don't know. We came to have a conversation.
I do not converse with dustlings.
And yet you are talking right now.
Here's a point. You're conversing now.
Indeed. I shall rectify this mistake immediately. And roll initiative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And let's see here. Wotik,
11.
Aditi,
6.
rough. Carl Dendleton,
19.
Wizard.
Velfaris,
16.
Yira.
7.
How did we end up with the bad luck?
Is that 7 or 11?
7.
7. Okay. I'm gonna make that out.
Jack, War Wizards get a +4 to initiative.
Damn.
Yeah.
Bitch.
It's kind of their jam.
Yep.
Okay, I believe I've got everything organized on my end. However, none of you beat a 20, and on initiative count 20, that's when a legendary action goes off.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know, it sucks to be the group. Hey, everybody, please go ahead and give me dexterity saves.
Everyone has a +3 to these, by the way, since you're in my aura.
Ah.
Is
Paladins.
this a spell?
Is that consensual?
It is a spell effect, yes, if that
I mean,
matters.
do you not want the +3 to your save?
I mean, I'll take it, but.
Yeah, well.
Oh, thank. Faye, I guess.
Is it a spell effect coming from a creature I can see?
You can't see.
Okay.
You have not actually seen the creature in question.
Okay, cool. That rules out counterspell.
Yep.
So that would be a +3 on top of my +6, hey?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I got a 19.
Okay, we'll just we'll go in order of initiative. Carl got a 19. Vofaris.
That's a 5 on my natural 1.
Oof.
Ew.
Wotik.
Nat 20? So that's a 24 then?
Yeah. Vofaris, that was even including the +3 from Wotik?
I have a +1 to my dex save.
Cool.
So
Great.
1 + 1 + 3.
I am very sorry, my friend.
Yeah,
Yida.
18 plus 6 is 24 plus 3 is 27.
Jesus.
Aditi.
18.
18. So good news, everyone saved except Vofaris. I'm so sorry.
This is what you get for being 7 foot
Oh,
tall.
it is. Yeah, I'm too tall. I'm not dexterous. I topple so fast.
You apparently do. So Vofaris takes the full 26 points of damage.
Oh!
That's fine.
As falling from the ceiling appears to just be large rocks and ice and everything shaking loose from this cavern, plummeting down around you, smashing into your armor, smashing into your bodies. Everyone else only takes 13 points of damage.
Jesus.
Rude.
And the entire area around you is now difficult terrain as the rock and ice and everything combines together in order to basically fuck over any ability to step through this. Oh. And that is when all of you see finally emerging from a small outcropping in the back of the cave, a fey-like creature with incredibly emaciated limbs, very long, sharp, tendrily fingers, their skin the blue of hoarfrost, their hair as white as snow, but their countenance is pulled back into a fearsome grin, almost stretched across a way too small and way too bony face. With every single step that they make, they use a wickedly gnarled gray staff to hold themselves up, pounding it into the ice as they move. And that would be the Baronet. And that brings us to our actual characters. Carl, what do you do?
All right. I move up to Wojciech and I pull out my wand. I beg your pardon, but you are a large chap, and I think that now is a time that you should get bigger. And I'm going to cast Enlarge on it.
Jesus.
You are enlarged.
What does that do?
Well.
Okay. The target size doubles in all dimensions, and its weight is multiplied by 8. This growth increases its size by 1 category, from medium to large, for example. If there isn't enough room on the for the target to double its size, the creature or object attains the maximum size possible size in the space available. Until the spell ends, the target also has advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. The target's weapon also grow to match its size. While these new weapons are enlarged, the target's attacks with them deal an extra 1d4 extra damage.
Jesus Christ. I need to look this up so I have this all written down. Holy crap.
Yeah, it's a lot of bonuses.
This is about some shit's about to go down.
Yeah.
While you look that up, it is Bill Forrest's turn.
Dope.
Boom.
So, it was very nice of you to throw rocks at us. And I'm going to extend my summoned sword pointed at him and cast Guiding Bolt.
Okay, it's an attack roll. Go ahead and make that.
It is a... Let's see. Yeah, it hits. It's 17 plus 8.
Yeah, that definitely hits. Go ahead and roll damage.
That is 6d6, and I'm sorry I only have 2, so please bear with me. It is 6. 6 is 12. 6. 18.
18 total?
18 total. Next attack roll made against this target has advantage.
Yes, indeed. Describe your guiding bolt. What does it look like? How exactly do you cast it?
Actually, it looks super non-violent. It comes out as a wisp of smoke that comes out and then just gains momentum and speed until it slams into their chest. Just dispersing on them, but yeah.
The baronet snarls and hisses and uses its extremely long claws to try and like rend off whatever this light is, driving itself into a frenzy at trying to get whatever the spell is off of their person. And that is the baronet's go. And upon seeing that and seeing extremely now big, tall Wojciech, realizes two threats very much identified. So I'm going to need armor classes for both Vilfaris and Wojciech.
20.
20 and of Vilfaris?
13.
13?
Yep. I only qualify for light armor as a warlock.
Oh, yeah.
So I have studded leather.
It is a dangerous
yes, it is.
thing that you do.
Glass cannon.
Are you a Hexblade?
No.
Oh, right. Celestial. Got it.
Yeah, Celestial. The blade.
Okay, somehow Vilfaris it misses, but Wojciech it hits dead on.
All right. Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
This is ideal, really.
I guess it is ideal, really.
I mean, it is.
Wojciech, you take 8 points of damage as the creature points its gnarled gray staff at you, and bright lances of ice leap from it, striking across your shield. And your shield, you realize, offers you very little protection from this frigid cold that spreads rapidly over the metal, super chills it. It begins to crawl up your arm, leaving ice crystals along with it. It feels even more frigid than the mountain itself.
You said 8, right?
8 points of cold damage.
Okay.
And your speed is reduced as you are struck with a ray of frost. So your speed is reduced by 10 feet, and you are in difficult terrain. So it's even harder to move. And the baronet is...
Sorry.
The baronet is roughly about 50 feet away on this rocky outcropping that has like ramps going up the side to reach it.
Okay.
Okay. It's your turn, though, buddy. What do you do?
Oh, boy. So I can't get to them. You said 50 feet? And I can only move 10 feet this round then?
Yes.
Let's see. Yep, that's what's going to happen. So Wojciech will reach out their hand and touch Vilfaris on the shoulder. Let's go get them. And cast Longstrider. At second level.
Ooh. What does that do?
Yes, tell me what that does.
Our speed has increased by 10 feet.
Okay. Then you still have 20 feet of movement if you want to use that to start closing in.
Yes, and can't use a dash action then.
Nope.
Yeah, we'll just move 20 feet to get in within 30 feet.
Awesome. You move 20 feet to get within 30 feet.
Just like slowly walking towards with purpose. Oh, wait. Let me check something. So now we're in 30 feet?
Yes.
Is that... I want to see if I can... Sorry, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
While he's looking that up, I'm sorry. How far away is he from me?
Nope, never mind.
He would now be 20 feet away from you.
28 feet. Okay.
Yes, good, maybe so.
Nope, I'm good. It's an action, so... That's it for me.
Oh, okay, that's it for you. Let's see. Then another legendary action goes off at this point as the creature begins to channel more cold around the staff. You see several icicles break off from the roof and begin to converge around the top of the staff. And then pointed straight at, we'll say Carl.
I'd like to counterspell.
You would like to counterspell. Do you use counterspell?
Yes.
The spell effect goes away. What happens?
So Carl sees it and gets in a prepared stance, and with a flick of his wrist, he casts a magic and holds the icicles in place, and then casts them aside.
Oh.
Okay. The Fae screeches in shock and fury at seeing that their spells suddenly be twisted. So, Yida.
Gaming now, nudes later.
Shut up. She's just gonna aim. She's gonna ready her quiver with her stuff and do the ranger thing and aim.
Okay.
For 5 to hit.
5 to hit.
Just misses.
Your arrow perfectly impales an icicle all the way up on the roof above the creature. Like dead center on the icicle. It looks beautiful, but it doesn't hit her. Do you do anything else? Do you still have a bonus action? Maybe some ranger spells or...
All of my spells are like healing. She's kind of useless for other shit.
Healing may come in handy.
It will. It will. It's just, yeah. I
Because,
was like,
a lot of that too.
yeah.
Okay. Aditi.
Okay. Can I do my bonus action first?
Yeah.
I'm going
Sorry.
to cast Hail of Thorns.
Make it
And yes, and the way that works, the next time you hit a creature with a ranged weapon attack before the spell ends, the spell creates a rain of thorns that spreads from your ranged weapon. In addition to the normal effect of the attack, the target of the attack and each creature within 5 feet must make a dexterity saving throw and then takes 1d10 piercing damage on a failed one. So, having said that, I think
Now you
I
gotta
need... Yeah, I gotta roll to hit. And that is a 19 plus 8?
Yes.
Okay. Goddamn. Okay. So in that case, I will hit for 1d8 plus 3. That is 5, 6, 7, 8 points of damage. But then you need to make a dexterity saving throw.
What's the DC?
The DC is, once I find it, 12.
No. Failed.
Fails a dexterity saving throw? Okay.
Yes.
1d10 of piercing damage. Boop, 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 boop. Well, let me find a d10 real fast. That is
Sure
not
thing.
a d10. I can never remember what a d10 looks like. I am sorry, folks.
No, you're totally good.
It's this one, right?
And yeah, it looks like a top.
Yeah, okay. Is it a 1d10 plus anything?
No.
Nope. Okay, so that is two more points of damage.
2 more damage is
extra
2 more
damage.
damage.
That's right.
Yeah.
We like all damage here.
Yes.
Yes. Do you do anything else?
No, I think that's it.
That's it. Okay, so then that actually brings us back to the top of the initiative with Carl.
Carl.
Carl is going to kind of feeling pretty badass from stopping the icicle attack. Is going to start moving his wand, and he's going to be talking to himself and go, "Oh, I see that you like ice. How about a little fire?" And then I'm going to cast Fireball.
Did
So
you
then I start
light up your
blasting.
wand?
Yeah, he did that last time too.
Fireball it is. I believe it's Dex save, right?
Yes, it is.
It is. What's your DC?
The save is 15.
No.
Oh,
She
no.
fails. She fails miserably.
Oh boy.
It's gonna hurt.
Leave some for the rest of us, please.
15, 19, 23.
The fire turns the back of the cave into a shroud of fog and mist as it suddenly vaporizes a lot of the ice in the back. The extreme heat competing with extreme cold, causing the baronet to scream at the top of her lungs in agony at the fact that you are bringing such horrible things to their realm. And is at that point going to take legendary action to try and do something to you because they don't like that very much. Let's see. I haven't gotten to use that one yet. Sure, we'll do that one. The baronet begins to take their staff and like thunk it down onto the ice in a rhythmic way over and over and over until the ice begins to break and shatter and dematerialize until eventually it lifts up, breaks even further into almost a powdery substance of really tiny, sharp icicles, essentially, and launches forward into the whole crowd of you.
Eee.
Gross.
Let's see. That's a con save for everyone.
Oh boy.
And I believe nobody is currently benefiting from Wotiek's aura.
Except Wozniak.
Except Wotiek! And then I will again ask for your saves in initiative order. So that's Carl.
That's a 17.
Okay. Vilfaris.
Also a 17.
Nice. Wotiek.
A 17.
Oh, 17. Yida, can I just put you down for a 17?
17 plus 4, maybe.
Oh my, okay.
Aditi, can I put you down for a 17?
No, you can put me down -10. It's a 7.
I thought you meant that you literally rolled a -10. I was like, ow.
When your dice really don't wanna.
17 -10. 7. She got a 7.
She got a 7. Okay. Let's see.
There's a -10 modifier.
Poor Aditi. I am very, very sorry.
It's okay.
Is it okay? You sure?
Yet. It might not
maybe. I don't know. It's fine. We're about to find out.
It's 32 points of cold damage.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, she's still up.
She's still up?
She's still up. I don't know how she's still up.
16 for everyone else.
Holy shit.
As a cone of cold goes sweeping over the entire group, freezing most of you to the bone by that point.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. You up, Vilfaris? You good?
I'm still up.
You're still up. All right.
I am.
Well, it's your turn. What do you do?
God, I'm waiting for this. All right, I'm ready. All right.
Yes, do it.
For my action, you see Velfaris' hair start to stand, and he starts to float up in the air, and his eyes start to glow, and his skin starts to sparkle as he activates Radiant Soul.
Mm-hmm.
And he floats about 5 feet into the air. And then for his bonus action, he uses Healing Light to heal 5d6 worth of damage to himself because he is at 3 right now.
Oof.
5. I'm going to heal 13 points of damage on myself because I can't use more than 5 of them.
That is helpful.
And I just stare at the thing that's being a dick.
Yes. Stare at it. Stare at it with your angel eyes. It stares back, but does not deem to focus on you. Instead, it tries to isolate Yida and Carl. Yida, armor class.
Do I have to tell you?
Legally, yes.
Give me 1 second. I actually. There we go. Okay.
Okay. You know
Sorry,
what?
I'm having to double check stuff. There we go.
Neither of you need to tell me. I guarantee you I missed. I guarantee. So I'm sorry I made you look that up. As 2 more beams of cold energy just strike the ground around Yida and Carl, but miss entirely. It seems that between everything else you all are doing, it's distracting the Baronet quite a bit. Wojciech, it is your turn. You are no longer chilled and therefore have your full movement and your long strider.
So the 30, 40 feet. Still difficult terrain?
You got past the mouth of the cave, so no longer difficult terrain.
I have a question.
Absolutely. What is your question?
This is large creature, yes?
This is medium creature.
Balls!
Wojciech is large right now.
No, okay, you're fine. You're fine. Just don't hit me and we'll be fine.
Would you like to hit Wojciech?
No, I like Wojciech.
So,
Wojciech, what do you do?
Starts walking up that ramp. And as they walk, you hear their footsteps echoing. And you realize it's not just their footsteps as you hear what sounds like tens, hundreds, thousands of footsteps marching along with them. And you just hear the roar of the crowd and smell torches and anger and like righteous anger, all directed towards this fae as they channeled their divinity for their ability called Turn the Bourgeoisie.
Are you serious?
What?
Are you fucking serious?
What does this do? Enlighten us to the ways of the revolution.
Fae, dragons, and lawful or neutral fiends within 30 feet that can see or hear the paladin must make a wisdom save or be prevented from taking reactions and being forced to spend their turns fleeing for up to 1 minute.
Shit. Wisdom save? What's the DC?
Let me see. Spell save is 14.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. So I rolled a 3.
Oh no.
So what happens is, I guess it would be...
Yeah, this is your scene. No, take this away. What happens? Explain the power of the Oath of the Common Man.
So Wojciech walks up and stands before this fae that is trampling upon the common people and places down their shield and holds up their hammer and says, "You will not trouble the people any longer." And just this radiant roar of the crowd is heard throughout the cave.
And sure enough, the Baronet shrinks back away from whatever it is that this sudden surge of strength is. And no matter how it barks in Sylvan, that all that is dust shall return to dust, they don't quite believe that as vehemently as they might have once. and before the power of mortals begins to shrink and shrivel. Let's see. That's Yida to bring us in after that.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna
Oh,
follow
and
that.
they have to run away.
They have to immediately, not on their turn.
On their turn, right?
Prevent taking action, being forced to spend. Oh yeah, spend their turns. Okay.
Yeah. Great. Cool. Great. Fuck. Do they get another save or no? They're just fucked.
Nope.
Awesome. Even
it's
better.
just fuck you.
Gita, what do you do?
Try again.
No combat spells or anything like that?
Nope.
You got a bow. You're good. You got silver
Yep.
arrows.
Yep. Nat 20. Thank God.
Max the damage on your first die. Don't even bother rolling it, and then just roll an additional damage die. So it would be it's a longbow, right?
Yeah.
So it's just 8 plus whatever you roll plus your modifier.
8 plus 7 is 15.
Plus your modifier, or is that including it?
That's including it.
Let's
And
see.
then...
Yes. Do you not have extra attack?
Yes, but for some reason it's not showing on my D&D thingy. But like it told me I had it.
Yeah, you definitely.
So I do have it,
Yeah, you
and
got it.
so that's what she was gonna do. She was just gonna be like, "Ha, bitch, let's go," and do it again for 19 to hit.
Yes.
These dice love me. Thraka's gonna hate me every time I have to roll for Penelope. Math.
What's the die roll?
8 plus 8. I'm a doof. 16.
Your damage modifier is a +8?
No. I'm mathing wrong. I'm dumb. Hold on. Merp. There we go. Okay, no. Sorry. 8. Ha.
8 plus 8. Or plus. Wow,
Just
now
8.
I'm doing it.
It's just
now
8.
I'm doing it.
Okay.
There we go. It's
Son of
just
a
8.
bitch.
One plus
Seems
two
like
plus
we
one plus
really
one.
want to do 16 points of damage right now.
I do.
Yeah, if you did, it would actually be
Hey, there you go.
fucking great. Yito, what does this look like as you finally get 2 arrows, one of which is perfectly aimed? How do you perform this? What happens? Where do you
So her first one, she's gonna actually aim up a little bit higher and aim like towards like their neck, and like just it's gonna end up like lodging like right in between their collarbone and their actual like choroid vein. And then like the second one is gonna just aim like right like just below the ribs.
Oof.
And she's just like, let's go.
And you see these silvered arrows. Wotyek would have the best view that as silver touches the skin, the baronet literally begins to melt. She bleeds water as the ice that covers most of her skin begins to melt and fizzle and burn away, frantically ripping at these arrows while still being terrified of you to try and get this silver out of her body, but she just can't. As Aditi
brings it home. Or do I?
Murder.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's fine. We'll do that. We'll cast another round of Hail of Thorns, and
What?
What?
I'm standing right there.
Oh yeah, that could probably hit
Wotyek.
Volchik. I
Okay.
keep trying to call you got you, by the way, and I don't.
Okay.
In that case, no Hail of Thorns. Never mind that. We will just
Okay.
attack with the longbow and a silver arrow. We'll just do
Okay.
that. That'll be
remember you do get 2 attacks.
Yes. So we will do the first one is going to be 17 plus 8 to hit.
That hits.
Okay. Cool. And that's 1d8 plus 3. Boop, 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 boop. 8, 9, 10, 11 points of damage on that first one.
And the next.
That is a 8 plus 7 is 15 to hit.
Does not hit.
Okay.
as the arrow goes just barely wide at that point. The poor creature unable to do much to fend it off at this point because of Wojciech and their fucking channel divinity. That brings us back to the top of the order with Carl, as now the creature is badly injured and shriveling away and clutching tightly onto their staff, just almost using it to like shove back at Wojciech to make sure that he can't or they can't advance anymore, but ultimately is unable to do much to resist. Carl Dandleton, what do you do?
Carl is going to cast Scorching Ray.
Okay. Make them attack rolls.
12 plus 7 is 19.
That hits.
For 6 fire damage.
Remember that you do get like 3 rays, right?
Really?
Scorching Ray. I thought when you cast it, you get 3 rays.
Oh, spell attack for each ray. Yes, you were correct.
Yes.
I have never played a wizard before. So.
That is quite all right.
15 plus 7 is going to hit, so that's 2 hits, and then 17 plus 7, that's also going to hit. So
Jesus.
hit damage.
Jesus fucking Christ.
6 fire damage on the second one. And I am actually going to use one of my abilities here because I counterspelled earlier.
You did.
I have what's called the Power Surge. That I'm
Yes,
going
you
to use
do.
on this last piece of damage. So that is 6 fire damage and then additional 3 force damage for my Power Surge.
Damn.
So 6, 6, 5, 3, right?
Yep.
Oh.
Holy shit. The baronet at this point is barely able to hold together, is almost at this point an amorphous shape of just ice and water and snow that cannot hold itself together, literally on their last legs as Velfara steps up. You are muted.
No, I float.
You float up.
That's right. I'm
Bye.
holding my great sword and float directly towards them. And I say, "You should have conversed with us." And I take my great sword.
Wait, booming blade. Booming blade.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Ready for this shit. We're going full on. I get 2 attacks with this thing. With booming blade and radiant soul, and goodbye. That's all I've got to say. Oh yeah, 16 plus 7.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's go. I want to see how much I get out of this. So, and then
Let's say you don't need much, but go
Let's
for broke.
fucking go.
whatever I roll plus 10 is how it ends up, because I get 6 for the radiant soul, plus 4 is my modifier, and I'm rolling 2d6 and a 1d8.
Damn.
Fuck 'em up.
Roll them bones.
That'd be 21 points of damage
Shit.
for the first hit,
Oh!
because I get 2 attacks per turn.
Would you like to keep going?
Yes, but I don't get the extra 6 this time, so it's this plus 4 this time. That's 5, 6, 7, 8.
What's even the point of rolling the
So,
second one if you don't get the extra
yeah,
six?
we're 20. Wait, 16 plus whatever I said before.
Yes.
20, 30, whatever. Bye.
Why do they bother? Why do they bother?
Why do they bother? And you see me glowing with righteous fury as I just
Yes.
chop, and I like to imagine that this fey being just wisps away out of existence.
Yes, considering this fey being had 1 hit point left.
Q stealing hack.
Holy shit!
Damn. Just a Evaporates.
The Baronet of Grim Remembrance literally evaporates from Velfaris's sword strikes, the booming blade blowing apart snow and ice particles until they are merely just crystalline mist that descend down to the surface of the cave. The gray staff drops from their now not their hand. And clatters to the ground. It very, very quickly begins to shrivel up from this dead, twisted piece of wood that it was, and begins to shrink down instead into a very vibrant and gorgeous maple branch.
I think this means we did it.
I slink back to the ground and close my eyes and heal more with my last 2 healing light slots.
Okay. You heal, and as you channel the energies of the heavens themselves, of Olympus reaching down to touch into this cave, there is a surge of power from both you and the maple branch that begins to rocket out of the cavern. In a flash, all the ice that was in here melts very, very quickly until there's just a sudden gout of steam and then nothing. And it surges out of the mountain and begins to race down it. Those that were closest to the mouth, which I believe are Carl, Aditi, and Yida, are able to look down the mountain itself and see that those gray, overcast, and blizzard skies are blown away into the distance until they too dissipate into just small, happy, fluffy cumulus clouds that drift off away from the mountain itself. Looking down, you can see that the majority of the snow is already starting to melt and fade away. The sun has risen high enough where before you is a beautiful dawn overlooking a vibrant, lush valley where winter has finally gone.
I got him.
Yeah, you did. We should
Excellent.
probably take that to the other Fae. Put it
Are
in the
you are you
branch.
normal sized now, Voltic?
I don't know, am I? How long does this last?
It's a minute.
Yeah, so you got
So
like
not
2 more
not
rounds.
quite yet. So just giant, an extra giant Wotiek.
Did you find that useful?
Yes.
Is anyone else hurt?
Very much so.
Everybody's like, ah. Oh, how do I choose? I only get one of you.
It's
No, wait.
okay. I can heal too.
I got
Okay.
this. Lay on hands.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna be wrapping up
Yeah,
here.
no, I just-
Yeah.
Anyway, as we're
Well, I'm
out
gonna
of time.
pick one of y'all and float over to you, and healing hands restore 6 hit points because I want to do all my stuff.
You do it. You do the healing hands. You restore
I'm-
those 6
I'm-
hit points.
I'm taking it.
Go for it.
Okay, Carl takes it. The descent down from the mountain with the maple branch in hand is much easier than the ascent. In fact, it's quite a lovely stroll at this point. All of you can see mountain flowers and edelweiss blooming across the peak as you begin to make your way down from the peak. When you finally reach Hild's Rest, after a rather long but pleasant trip down the not so frigid summit any longer, all the groups of villagers are there awaiting your return and just overcome with joy and thanks and just like it's hard to describe exactly what this means for them in knowing that their settlements are saved out here, that they will actually be able to survive until winter actually arrives. Leaf does take the maple branch when you hand it over. And after a moment, looks back at the villagers, looks back at the rest of you, takes the branch, and breaks it over their knee.
What?
It very quickly warps from this resplendent chunk of wood into basically driftwood. It dies very, very quickly. It becomes incredibly dried out and brittle. and they toss the branches to the ground unceremoniously. And Leaf says, "Far too much trouble over so simple a thing. It is not worth it. Not when it can cause such harm."
What is wrong with you?
The Leaf is confused and tilts their head back and forth, saying, "Why would you want to hold on to a weapon so fearsome?"
Oh, wait, that was a weapon? I thought that was the baronet.
That was the staff.
Oh,
It
I
was
thought
the
they
staff
turned
that the
into
no,
him.
no, it was the staff that the baronet was using. No, it was not the baronet
Oh.
themselves.
Oh, yeah, never mind. Oh,
Yeah.
that was a weapon. No, good call. Good call. Yeah.
And with the power of the Grey Staff broken, with the Baronet certainly now back within the Feywild, eventually to regenerate, Leaf bids you all a fond thank you and a farewell, and begins to trundle away from Hild's Rest. They do not get many steps, however, before their autumnal body begins to decompose as way, and with a simple breeze, they are blown into just a small flurry of bright orange, yellow, and purple leaves and twigs upon the wind, returning to the forest. Um,
All the colors of wind.
And the rest of you at this point are now left with a return journey back to Melopolis, a report to file, certainly, and then more than likely to burn, realizing that, again, none of this was sanctioned and none of you can ever talk about this again.
Never happened.
Never happened.
Wait, what
Al-
happened?
What?
Nothing. We've just been hanging
Although,
out.
We decided to take a walk, play with snow people. You know, roll
Exactly.
into balls, make the carrot on nose. Yeah.
Ah, yes. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
although before you depart, both Fadra and Axios do make it quite apparent that if ever you find yourselves within the base of the mountain or within Hild's Rest, you will always be given respite, welcome, and hospitality, of course. And
Thank you.
that is.
And
Go ahead.
and the two of you, talk to the Fey people. They're as confused about you as you are of them. Talk to each other, not this weird worship hate thing. Just talk.
They ponder it for a moment, and Axios does perhaps relent that maybe sometimes it is best if gods understand their worshippers. And Fadra bites her tongue at saying anything cutting, but agrees that if they are our neighbors, it is our duty to better understand them.
Yay.
We did
And
it. Yeah.
and that's it. That's it. The adventure's over. The group returns to Melopolis as unsung heroes. Because again, you don't get paid for any of this, and nobody is allowed to talk about it.
For the people.
For the people. And that's it. That's our first adventure here in the Eastmarch. Yay! Not too bad for a one shot where these characters, some of them were literally thrown together right before we started playing, and we don't really have anything lined up for this. It's just gathering together to throw some dice together. Thank you to everyone who came and joined us and watched this. We saw a couple subs in there. Thank you so much for coming and joining us here, and welcome to the party. I am going to go ahead and let my players get themselves some outros in reverse order from how I started. So go ahead and tell us where else we can find you, what else you may be playing in, and some thoughts on the session tonight. Starting in reverse order would bring us with Meg.
Ah, crap. Hi. My name is Meg. You can find me moderating the Discord that we've got and rambling about Animal Crossing these days. Oops. A lot. And yeah, you can also find me here usually on our Friday games at this time, doing a Storm of 4, occasionally wandering through 3V on Saturdays, or doing side quests, as we call it, side quests, on Mondays. So I will be wandering around as I have nothing else to do with my life right now.
And any final thoughts on the game tonight, or?
I had fun. So Yida, for those of you that vaguely remember a one shot that Don and I were in a while back with Christine or Crafty Psych, I had Yida back then, and I was playing her completely different. And so bringing her back and actually having her knocked down a few levels compared to where we were was a lot of fun to kind of just navigate and just play differently. And she's a lot of fun, and I love it. And as usual, we all kick butt in combat, so it was really fun to play off of that and to have a co-ranger um of a different branch basically. And my bad. Just it's fun to see how the play styles are different, and I'm loving it. She's my first ranger, so
Very cool. Moving on to Thenrend.
Hi, I'm Thanrand everywhere on the internet, specifically on Twitter and on Twitch, where I stream video games on the internet every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 4 p.m. Central. Right now I'm playing through Resident Evil 2. It's amazing. And on Friday nights here with Storm of 4 or this, whichever one happens that night. And then on Monday nights on twitch.tv/open4adventure. And playing D&D over there too. And tonight was super fun because I played a warlock for the first time ever, and oh, I loved it. I love what I'm doing with this guy. I need it. Yeah, I need to play this one more often because I love it.
Well, I will certainly see if that's possible. Moving on over to Smurf.
Hey everybody, I'm Smurf. You can find me on the internet at DSC_Smurf. I stream too much D&D. You can catch me tomorrow on Dubstack Charisma playing a Curse of Strahd game at 7:30 Pacific time. And Sunday I'll be back here on the channel playing a wrestling game at noon. I play the AAA Mega Champion Ron Sterling, so I'm a badass. It's pretty awesome. He's the Prince of Fab. Tonight was so much fun. I like this type of game where it's simple and the party is going out to accomplish a goal, and it doesn't get super complicated, and everybody's just trying to get through the plot in a really fun way. I really liked everybody's characters they put together, especially some of us on short notice. For once, I was actually able to build a character before I got home from work, and that's why I had a fleshed out voice and everything. So it was a lot of fun. I've never played a wizard before, and that was a lot of fun too. And like right before we got into combat, I remember that my roommate had a Harry Potter wand, and I had to go grab it. And I was like, yes!
Nice.
Leona. First of all, I had a blast. I love that we had a bunch of people that were trying new things. Aditi and Pelu are very beloved characters of mine from elsewhere, and it was a joy to be able to bring them to something new. So thank you for that, and thank you all for just delighting in them and just embracing them for what they are. So that really filled my heart with a lot of joy. And hi, my name is Neela, but you can call me Leona. You can find me moderating the Welcome to the Party Discord or on Twitter at the Leona Maple. I am the founder of Vibrant Vessel Victorious for the channel, and I'm a consultant that helps make your projects more diverse. So please feel free to check out my Twitter for more information on that. And that's me.
And last but not least, Jack.
Hey everybody, I am Capjack, or at Captain J Cross on the Twitters, and you can find me here on Friday nights with the Storm of 4 crew in one form or another. And also, I'm one of the producers over on our sister channel, New to the Party, where we have a couple games getting ready to wrap up and a couple more that we're going to be announcing soon. So stay tuned for those. We're super excited. Oh my God. But tonight, God, this was fun. When we were initially talking about the Eastmarches, we came up with some ridiculous characters, and Wojciech is one of my favorites. Just the Oath of the Common Man. Oh, this is fun. So, yeah, I look forward to playing with them again, or maybe some of the other Madcap creations that have been done, so who knows. But yeah, tonight was a blast. I loved how we all interacted as a group, and we crushed it there at the end. Oh my God. Whew. So, yeah, love it.
Very glad to hear. And I am Don. I am Jago. I am many things. I was your GM for the evening. You can go ahead and come and find me if you like me GMing. I run a Star Wars game, Hyperdrive, the First Ember, on New to the Party. We play on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. It's been like 10, 11 sessions now, still going strong. And if you want to come check out some really run space adventures, building the rebellion, fighting space fascists, it's a blast, and I enjoy it very much. I do believe that will be it for us for the evening. Welcome to the Party is going to go ahead and give a raid to Dice Priori.
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 Thank you so much. Dice Priori. We're going to go ahead and give those folks over there a raid to go and share the love. Before we do remember to come and check us out on our Discord where you can talk with all of us. Go ahead and check us out on Patreon where you can get up to date on updates on the channel and do all sorts of fun stuff with us here. And we have tons and tons of sponsors. Please go ahead and give them your support and love because they help us continuing to make amazing fucking cool games like this one here. Thank you to all of my wonderful players for joining me tonight on this just sudden thing that was thrown together. And we will catch you next time on A Storm of Something.
Bippity boppity boo.
Bye. Are we out? No? Yes? Okay.
We like to be out.